All right, guys, welcome to episode number 2 of Forged in the Fire. The show was specifically designed to hear from people who have achieved a level of success. Life and success are not linear journeys, and our guests will be sharing their journey of how they've walked through fire to be forged into their best selves. Same way a blacksmith has forged a lump of steel into a sword. So Daniel is here with us, my buddy Daniel Papin. He is a residential and commercial real estate agent out of the Phoenix market. Last year, he made the switch to focusing. It was last year, right?
It's like 2 years ago.
Okay.
Roughly.
So a couple years ago, he made the switch to focusing on commercial real estate and working with commercial sellers and investors. In the last couple of years, he's had massive growth in his industry or in his business. And today, I want to unpack the journey of how he got started and where he's at today. So, Daniel, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Breaking my podcast cherry. I'm excited.
Heck yeah.
I'm excited.
So excited to have you as my first guest here. Let me see. Cool. So kind of tell us about where this all started, man. Like, where'd you grow up? What was your childhood like? And
In retrospect, I had a really easy life. My mom's a doctor, my dad's an attorney. I always had a problem with authority. So, at an early age, my parents shipped me off to military school for about 4 years. Became really good at shining my shoes and getting yelled at and making my bed. And, having structure kind of transitioned over. So, I went from 7th grade to junior year of high school, went to my public high school junior year, graduated from Naperville North senior year. But just having that structure in my life, I feel like, and being secure with yourself and alone at, in 6th grade, 7th grade, you just, you realize, you're born alone in this world and you're going to die alone. And the sooner you accept that and realize that's just what it is, the sooner you can live.
Heck yeah. So, what was military school like, man?
I'm not the biggest guy. I'm 5'10", 160 right now, but I was a dwarf in 8th grade. So just being the smallest guy with the biggest mouth, probably it wasn't ideal. But military school, it pushed you and made you uncomfortable, from getting PT'd to getting sent to motivational platoon to having square meals every meal if you're bad to, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and laundry formation to marching in the Chicago St. Patrick's Day parade. It was filled with, a lifetime events. And, some of these people I never would have met with, a lot of kids from South Korea, a lot of kids from Mexico, Argentina, all around the United States. So I'm actually going back there on February 3rd for the alumni basketball game. So I'm going to drop some buckets on them.
Heck yeah.
Post 30.
Yeah, it was when I was growing up, I kind of had the similar thing with the authority. And, public schools, they can be great. I went to a really good public school. Mm-hmm. Now I feel like they're all kind of shit. But back then, she almost shipped me off to St. Thomas to kind of, I think I told you about this, that, my dad, he left when I was really young. So I was just a rebellious little shit.
Right.
But at the same token, like she wanted to give me a little bit more structure, but we ended up not doing that because it was very expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just curious, like what that was like. Like shit. I'm glad I didn't go, but kind of wish I could have experienced to see what that would have been like, because it was a really good college prep school. Mm-hmm. Sweet. So started off living in Chicago. Mm-hmm. What was next? Like, did you move from Chicago straight to here, or what came?
So I went to University of Kansas for 6 years. I really looked up to Van Wilder at a young age and wanted to replicate that success. So after 6 years in college, I decided to take my talents back to Chicago. I did medical sales there. I sold gynecology equipment. It was, there was not enough therapy for me to recover. So after 6 months, I, stopped working at MedGuy, a subsidiary company of Medtronic, and started my real estate journey. I was in property management in college, and I saw an advertisement in a window saying, essentially, if I worked 25 hours a week, I got free rent. My parents were paying for my rent and writing the check in my name. So I figured I could pocket that money, learn property management, make some money on leases, and just kind of have a nice little side hustle, I guess, as everyone wants to say. So started in property management, leasing office, or leasing agent in the leasing office. Did that for 2 or 3 years, and then in I think 2015, I got my real estate license in Chicago. Didn't do really any deals. I did like maybe 6 or 7 deals in Chicago. A lot of them were Section 8 vouchers and rentals.
Oh boy.
And yeah, I have definitely some crazy Section 8, going to Rogers Park and, just other shitty parts of Chicago for first month's rent. It was essentially what my payment was. So that was interesting.
Did you ever get shot at?
No, but I never wore suits to showings, and I would always keep my Glock G19 in my back, like in my waistband. You never know. Fuck around and find out.
Dude, we went to Chicago a couple months ago, and it's a cool city, but I definitely was pretty sketched out, like walking around like downtown. I didn't really know what to expect. I'm in a place that it's super foreign to me. It's a big city. It's not super foreign, but never being there and like hearing all the rumors about Chicago being extremely deadly, like I was like,
yeah, it's the culture out there.
It's like, shit, are we about to get sprayed by?
Yeah, the culture out there is, and I used to live in the South Loop, and I'd always play basketball out there, and if they make it to like 25, they're expecting Social Security. It's crazy. They don't really have a lot to live for out there, and the mindset, and there's a lot of from drill rap to drug dealing to it's not a lot of hope out there.
Yeah.
So
Chicago to Kansas, back to Chicago, started in real estate, did a few deals. Yeah. How long were you in real estate when you were out in Chicago?
So I came out here in February 19, and my cousin Jake Barrett's, we went to high school together, played football at University of Arizona. He's like the Wolf of Wall Street of industrial, flex, and triple net.
Okay.
So he worked at Marcus and Millichap for a little bit, and then a lot of the top Marcus guys they branched out and created their own firm called Taylor Street Advisors.
Okay. Right
off of 24th and Camelback. So we would always send Snapchat commission checks, and one time he sent me like a crazy, like it was like $350,000 or something along those lines, and it was that Wolf of Wall Street moment where I was like, hey man, I'll stop what I'm doing and come out and get mentored by you and come work for you. 7 to 10 days later, I was out there in February 2019 and worked at Taylor Street for about 7 months. Met a lot of cool guys out there. Andy Burnett, Matt Khalil, a lot of cool individuals. And, ate shit for about 7-8 months and, took it somewhere else and kind of, I was never passionate about retail at all. I just didn't like it.
Sure.
I was really passionate about multifamily, and then I taught, I had a lot of scripts, I had a lot of OMs I went through, and just, they trained me to be on the phones. So for the first 4 months I was working there, I was literally just doing role playing all day. So they definitely are super intense with training on the phones.
I mean, that's good, dude. Like that, and I kind of had that when I first got into it too. My team lead, he would always like make me come in the room with them and do like our morning power hour, and I was like, dude, I don't want to call around you guys. Like, I suck ass at calling. He's like, well, how do you expect to get better? Like, if we're not critiquing you. And man, like, because when I got into real estate, I remember telling Ryan, that was my team lead, and he was like, this is all about sales. I was like, dude, I don't want to be a salesman. Like, I didn't get in real estate to be in sales.
Right.
Like, what the hell? Like, I want to just work with cool people. And he's like, what do you think this is? Like,
life is sales, right?
Yeah, you sell in real estate. Like, what are you doing? And so that kind of like made me shift my whole mindset on it. And then eventually, got comfortable talking to people on the phones. Yeah. But man, like when you're first in it, like you don't realize that you actually have to cut your teeth. You can't just like go from, you're coming from something completely foreign to real estate to rise into the top without first cutting your teeth.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of sounds like that's similar experience to what you had with it too.
And I always ask these people who are successful in real estate, where do you think your success comes from? Experience or confidence?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think a little bit of both, but I also think discipline. Because I don't really think that you can really make something crazy big out of yourself without having a lot of discipline and like consistency too. So, I mean, it really depends on like the type of business, but like you have to have the discipline to like sit down
Right.
and like make the calls to your prospects, whether you do it like every single day or like you just do it when you know you need to. So, what do you think has been like the biggest challenge you faced in your career?
I think book a business, and what I mean by that is, a lot of people, they're from Arizona. They went to ASU out here, high school out here, so they have, mom, dad, cousins, frat brothers, sorority sisters. They have. I have no idea why I just used that as an example. That was never in a frat, but you get what I'm saying. Is like when you move to a different state, and you set up your book of business. I think, and I had no social life. I didn't go out. It took me about a year and a half of going every day and having people tell me to get fucked and just kind of failing. And I really didn't understand what success was till I came out here, and it was eating shit and failing, and then learning why you failed, trying to replicate that and just jump up one more level. And there's 1,000 failures in one lesson of success. I've always thought that, at least recently, right? So, book a business, man. I didn't know anyone out here. I didn't know who the top dogs were. I didn't know who to approach. I didn't know who to mentor me, essentially. Went over to Kenneth James for a little bit, did, residential and commercial out there. Awesome brokerage. Now I'm over at W Partners, even better brokerage. So there's levels to this game, and it's just, I really feel like and I'm not trying to sound too cliche or Gary Vee-ish, but just honing your craft, right? And you'll always find a reason to make an excuse if you really don't want this life. And just listen to that little voice in your head when you get in that cold water, when it tells you to get out or whatever the case may be. Like, everyone has that little voice in their head that tells you what you shouldn't be doing when deep down you know what you need to be doing to get where you need to be. So once again, book a business and not knowing anyone essentially was probably the most difficult hurdle when coming out here.
Man, I got a lot of follow-up questions there, but first one, do you cold plunge?
I've done it a couple of times. I went with Eddie Lack. We went to Optimize out right off Indian School. We did cold plunge. It was awesome. I've done it like once or twice. It's cool. I want to get more into it, but like I don't have like a Templeton Walker cold plunging thing in my backyard or anything like that. I want to get it, but right now I'm stacking and very frugal. And this year I'm probably going to be purchasing a couple properties.
Nice.
So yeah, I'll get one at one of my properties for sure.
Yeah, I put one in the garage, and I just recently filled it back up. It was dirty for a little bit, and I just didn't get around to cleaning it. Now I'm back at it and been cold plunging again this week. Feels good, man. Feels good to get back in that cold water.
I've done cryotherapy more times than I've cold plunged.
I didn't like cryo.
It was uncomfortable for a little bit.
I just didn't like they had you put on the mask thing, and I fucking hate masks.
Yeah.
So they did that, and then like I don't know, like it was just hard for me to breathe. Maybe that's because I was stupid when I was younger and like smoked some menthol cigarettes and shit.
Right before?
What's that?
Right before?
No.
Okay.
Like back when I was in high school and I thought it was like cool to like smoke cigarettes and chew tobacco. Like a fucking idiot. But whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it. Like I like the cold plunge better.
Yeah, cold plunge is super intense.
It's fun. All right, so you kind of touched on it a little bit, but curious, what advice do you have for somebody that's either first getting into the industry or they're already in the industry and they move to a completely different market, they don't know anybody, and they're trying to
like transition from residential into commercial, or just trying to get into a new market?
Trying to get into a new market, you don't have a book of business, or you're brand new and you don't have a book of business, and you just don't know how to start making money.
Step one, dive into social media. I've done like 6 or 7 deals off of Instagram this year.
Nice.
2 deals off LinkedIn, 1 off real estate Twitter. So it's definitely interesting. Once again, just touching on book of business, that was huge, right? And taking advantage of social media, even if you're not comfortable with it, right? This is my first podcast. I don't really like to see myself on the screen talking. I just like to see myself on my Google Sheets just cashing checks and hanging out. But 2023, I told myself I would do a lot more content and kind of talk about my story, which a lot of you guys don't really know about. And it's the first time since 2015 I'm very comfortable talking about everything. But yeah, I would say book a business, follow everyone on social media, go to these multifamily meetups, right? I met a lot of cool guys. Pappas, like years ago at a Kyle Mitchell meetup, multifamily meetup, and we were at the time. Now Kyle has like $300 million assets under management, but like 2019, 2020, he was just getting started. We were rented out a church in Scottsdale. I think he had like a Nissan Versa or whatever. Now so it's just crazy watching people's journeys in multifamily, and it's been very interesting.
Heck yeah.
And now Pappas is the land god. Shout out. So,
Oh, yeah. Love Pappas. He's a good dude.
yeah.
Heck yeah. Do you want to touch on story, or do you want to kind of talk about balance in your personal and professional life and like what that looks like?
Yeah, it looks like shit. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't balance anything. I don't have a social life. I don't like going out to bars. I don't like going out to clubs. Anytime I see people on social media, I'm wondering, what are you celebrating? Are you a multimillionaire? Do you have everything you want in life? If not, why are you spending $2,000 at the clubs? And I just,
Facts.
it's. My dad always told me as a young kid, nothing good happens after 12 a.m. and definitely nothing good happens after 2 a.m. So I've always just kind of avoided it. Everyone has their own vice, and if that's yours, cool. It's just, I'm not a bar guy.
Dude, same. I like one drink here and there, but
Of course, yeah. I usually have a 1 or 2 drink limit if I go out, but
yeah.
lately I'm just trying to like hone in on everything.
Yeah. Manhattans are like a glass of wine or a margarita at a Mexican
Yeah.
restaurant,
Oh, for sure.
but dude, I don't know. I when I first got into when I first moved out here, I was in food and beverage, and
Yeah.
I started as a food
So
runner, worked
lifestyle.
up to management, and I was around all of it, and I would go out, and then I don't know, man. Once I got into real estate, it just wasn't appealing at all. Like I still went out for like the first 6 months, and I was so busy like trying to just figure shit out. I wasn't always like working, but if I wasn't working, I was researching. I was like, on YouTube or like reading books at night, where it just didn't make sense for me to go out and get fucked up, and then the whole next day I'm sick.
Right. Yeah.
So you say you don't have a social life, but do you do anything like cars wise? Because we're both car guys. Like, do you go out and like,
Yeah,
do drives?
I mean, I haven't gone to any car meetups yet. I just joined a GTR, like Arizona. I've met some really cool guys off this like Facebook group of Arizona GTR car owners or whatever. Met a lot of cool individuals. I haven't gone to any like cars and coffee since I got my car. I usually just I just go on those 1 a.m. cruises solo. And if someone pulls up next to me, we can we can settle that issue. But
In Mexico.
exactly, yeah.
1 a.m. midnight cruise, dude.
Yeah,
I
those
feel like,
in and out cruises.
ooh, yes,
That's my thing. In and out. It's my vice.
Yeah, I had some fun one night in Mexico, but can't talk about that here. Yeah, dude, we should go to like Cars and Coffee. There's a like Highline. It's pretty dope.
Yeah.
I like going up there, and then they have this place called Boozy Breakfast. Have you ever been there? Mm-mm. Dude,
I'd be down to go.
all right, they got some fire food. Not gonna lie. What else do you do for like fun? Not going out. Totally
Well,
get that.
I got into sports betting last year, and
How's that going?
it was going really well, and my numbers are great. It's just I didn't keep much of my profit. I just kept. So I'm done with DraftKings. I'm done with MGM. It was a great run. It was iconic. But yeah, it's not mutually beneficial. So
Touche. Yeah, I can't go to the casino for that reason. I can walk in with like $40 because I feel like if you spend $40 like anywhere, like that's kind of your cost of admission to like go out and like do stuff with the boys or whatever. But if I go to the casino, I know I'm losing money. Like,
yeah, I've
hands
actually
down.
never. The first casino I ever was at was like Talking Stick or Walking Stick. Never gambled, but I've actually I've been in crypto, so I guess and DraftKings. So I guess you could say I gambled, but I've never gambled at a casino.
Crypto, RIP, man. I really hope Dogecoin comes back one day because like,
Yeah.
dude, right before Elon went on Twitter, wherever that it was that he started like or no, what was it, like a SNL or something?
Yeah.
I bought like $1,000 and it went down to like 200 that night. I was
Yeah,
like,
dude.
fuck.
I spent like $5,000 on Luna at like $1. So.
Ouch.
And now it's So everything happens for a reason. You take your losses and you move on. But I was just talking to my buddy Brandon about this a couple weeks ago. Like, we've both been in crypto for a while. I had a past business where my payments were in crypto only. So, wash, rinse, and repeat. Next time Bitcoin's at all-time high, just sell everything. Come back a year and a half later.
Dude. So, all right. So I got into crypto back in like 2017, right when like Bitcoin was $1,265 and Ethereum was like $79.
Yeah, and that was I think in like April of 17.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that price point.
Because when I was working at Montauk, a couple of the guys that I'd become friends with that would come in, they were our regulars. They taught me about it, and like they were like, dude, like check into this stuff, like go to look at this app, Bitrex, get Coinbase, get Binance, yep. And so I started like looking into it. I bought into it, and I was like, all right, this is dope. I couldn't deal with the volatility back then, but dude, if I had a crystal ball, I would have kept it. Because man, like the insane returns that I would have had 6 years later.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And but one of those guys, so he got like heavy into crypto, and I was talking to his brother. I won't say their names, but dude, on like the crypto highs back in like I think it was late 17 or 18 or something like that. Dude, he put in, I think he had 5 million in. He went up to 55 million, and it went all the way back down. Wow. Could you imagine seeing your account lose $50 million?
No, that risk assessment is legendary. But my dad gave me like 15 grand in 17 to start up his little crypto portfolio, and I ran up to like 129. I actually came out to Scottsdale, and like went out with my buddy Devin, and this was in like 17. I didn't even know I was moving here 2 years later, and his friend, we were just. We were partying and just having a good time, and it was a talkative moment. And he goes, yeah, I would just sell all your crypto. And I was like, in my head, I was like, what's this fucking idiot know? He's like, just drinks all the time. Long story short, 2 days later, crypto crashed on like January 4th of like 2018. I secured everything in like 30 or 40K under that 129. But yeah, I felt like a genius.
We all did.
Yeah.
Shit.
Very humbling.
Yeah, I mean, good thing you came out ahead. That's great. Some people like us right now with Luna and Doge.
My saying in this life is charge it to the game. Charge it to the game, man. It's fine. So I'll get it back.
Unpack that for some people. What does charge it to the game mean to you?
Charge it to the game. It is a drug reference where, essentially, if you get robbed, if you lose money in crypto and you're still up, it's like a byproduct of like not paying it forward, but it's like it's expected. Like
cost of tuition,
you're still having a successful business. You just lost 10K on an HVAC. Write it off. Charge it to the game. Keep moving. Like you'll be all right.
All right, I like that. So. Kind of want to hear about like some of the story, some of the like adversity that you've gone through. What would you say is like probably the hardest thing that you've had to overcome in your life? Again, things that you want to talk about.
Yeah, no, open book. I would say, so I used to have a supply chain management company in college.
What does that mean?
I would buy things wholesale and sell them retail and provide value for my community, the college community, and that's kind of how I got. That's kind of how I got started in crypto. I'm a little, not the biggest dude, so not very confrontational either. So I started buying some products of my inventory on Silk Road 1, Silk Road 2, and Agora markets, and
RIP.
Yeah, just having some packages sent in the mail. And that's kind of how my business scaled, and that's kind of how I got comfortable with crypto. But as far as overcoming adversity, I think military school was some adversity, but I think what happened on May 18th of 2004 was the biggest thing I faced. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always liked money. And I didn't want to have 100K in student loans coming out. So I sat down and said, what do college kids like to do? They like to party. There's 3 substances you can, there's essentially cocaine, liquor, or weed. Which one am I the most comfortable with? Weed. So I went that direction, and I scaled up my business entirely. And everything was remote. It was anonymous. It was crypto payments, and everything was going well up until graduation day. And my place got raided legitimately with one of those battering rams.
No way.
I have the affidavit. I have like the PDF. I'm not sure if I sent you that.
Yeah,
but,
you did. That's so funny.
Yeah, so that was years ago. I'm really not ashamed for it. I'm actually proud of it. I paid off $66,000 of student loans. I helped put smiles on college kids' faces, like campus wide. So, yeah, it is what it is, essentially. But yeah, overcoming that adversity, having an arrest warrant out. My friend ended up becoming a criminal attorney and took me on pro bono, and that was the first case he took on. So,
nice.
The firearms that got seized. I'm a big gun advocate guy. So I got those given back. I think last year my charges got dropped in 2020.
Nice.
Nothing stuck, and so I got a second chance in life. So I'm taking it, and that's kind of where real estate kind of comes into this, right? It's the same concept. It's the exact same concept. How can I add more value to this to sell it for more, or buy low, sell high. It's the same concept. And the one thing I like about real estate is passive income. I'm getting paid just to hold on to this. Why even sell it? So, yeah, I'd say overcoming that adversity was probably the biggest.
So you went from flipping some kind of bricks, some green bricks
Never.
to green bricks, not white ones.
Yeah,
green bricks
never.
to now gray ones. That's cool.
Yeah, so then I got into multifamily, and I just really like the numbers and financials and just how there's so many independent variables where you can like break down financials, and it might be a 4 cap on actuals, but example of that, I'm taking a 32 unit to the market. It's taken 7 weeks to have them sign a listing agreement. Their attorney is like redlining our listing agreement. It's interesting. Long story short, they have like a management fee in place where if you looked at these financials, you'd be like, oh, this isn't that good. And then you realize the management fee is 35% of the gross revenue, which is unheard of because on 32 units, it's like 3 to 5%. So there's a 30% spread of additional income once you change management companies because it's vertically integrated. The seller owns a PM company, right? So... just different ways of dissecting multifamily deals and real estate, essentially.
Word. So, when you were going through, like, the raid and going through, like, the charges and all that.
Yeah.
So, first of all, did you get caught with a lot, or was it just a little?
I didn't get caught with... I got caught with, like, it was, like, 0.14 of a gram. They didn't find anything on me. They just found some scales and some, just college kid shit. I didn't get caught with any of the stuff that I had, but so that was a little bit better than the other outcome. But yeah, it was like a fucking movie. I'm not gonna lie, I was really scared. I was terrified.
Shit, it's not in here anymore. It's in my office. I have you ever seen Blow? Johnny Depp Blow?
Oh, of course.
Dude, that used to be my favorite movie back in high school because I had a similar journey with supply chain management. Mm-hmm. And
heard you were CFO as well.
Dude, yeah, it was fun. And that was my favorite movie in high school. I still watch it sometimes, but definitely have other favorites now. But yeah. I bought one of the originals from 2001 posters.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I had it framed. That was my first piece of art that I ever bought. In my mind, it's art, but
yeah,
probably to somebody else.
That's definitely art.
That's worthless, but beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Always is.
So when you were going through that, were your parents pissed or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. they were flying down the next day, to be at the stadium for graduation. So I didn't get to walk. I got my diploma, but I didn't get to walk. I got detained for about 6 hours.
Same.
But yeah, that was probably one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. But at the same time, just kind of gave me mental clarity, and I got a second chance in life. And like, there's no price in freedom. And at the end of the day, there's so many other opportunities than selling drugs, especially now. Like, the weed game is so saturated. It's just
especially with it being
that was
legalized
college
now.
Daniel Papin. So, you know.
I got caught with like 0.2 grams too, but it was hash oil, so they classify that as a felony. Mm-hmm. Luckily, I hired an attorney, and he gave me a great deal, thank God.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting all the charges dropped, and after I got arrested, I moved. Like, my mom was like, "Hey, you keep fucking up. Like, get out of
I left
Minnesota.
that day.
Get out of Minnesota. Do not come back." And I was like, "Okay." But I called her when I got out of jail, and she was like, "I told you this was gonna fucking happen. Shut the fuck up. Don't call me Alec."
Right.
Hung up on me, and I was like, "Oh, great. That's not fun." So yeah, my mom was pissed too.
Yeah, I left that day. When they kicked my door down, I did not feel safe. My lease. This happened in was it May 18th? My lease is till July. I left. The door was destroyed. Our apartment was raided. I grabbed my dog and I called my dad. I just said, "Pack your shit and get out of there." And then 18 months later, I got a warrant at my house out in Naperville, and ended up just having hire my friend to handle that. And I never got fingerprinted, never went to jail. I've never been to jail. Just had a random warrant. Never showed up in Kansas for court. Had my attorney. He put his gloves on and beat another case. So it was awesome. Shout out to Aaron Othmer, criminal defense attorney in Kansas City. So he's the man.
What was who was like your greatest supporter through all that? Like, did you have like support around that, or
on
was
that
everybody pissed?
situation?
Yeah.
I didn't have one supporter. Not one. Not my cousin, not my dad. Definitely not my sisters or my mom. I kind of embarrassed my whole family, just kind of coming up from the background. And I think like a lot of suburban white kids, in retrospect, you idolize black culture and a lot of other things, right? Just being honest. And I had no business being in that industry. I had no business doing that. I should have just been in college, in business school, minding my own business. But,
Well, hey, dude, when you see that much money, though, it's like hard not to be gravitated towards it. And especially if it's like, I don't have to go to school for this. I got, whatever. But there's definitely better ways of life.
Well, my one goal, it wasn't to like, I bought a couple cars in college, but my one goal was just to get that student loan bill down. Because it's like, my buddy was a couple years older, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm paying like $450 a month in student loans."
Yikes.
I've never made a student loan payment ever. And I just got the last like $8,000 of student loans dropped off my credit report by my credit repair specialist, who's amazing. So there's always a way, guys. There's always a way.
So, what advice would you give somebody that's gone through something similar, or is in the process of overcoming some hard shit in their life?
There's always two sides. There's I have empathy for people and I have compassion for people. But then at the same time, as a man, it's like we're born and we're kind of like cultivated and groomed to like for people not to really feel bad for our problems, right? Something happens to a girl, there's gonna be 40 dudes in her DMs like, "Oh my God," like something happens to us. I'm sorry, dude. It's about all you get. No one really comes to your help. No one comes to your aid. So I think there's two sides of it. Having empathy and compassion for people, but at the same time still holding them accountable and being like, "Hey, dude, this is just another ladder or level you have to climb to get out of the mess that ultimately you've made as a grown ass man."
Yeah.
So
I'd agree with that. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, nobody put either of us in those situations. It was
Right.
our choice, and we had to deal with the consequences. What about like any tips for like dealing with stress? How do you deal with stress?
I don't meditate. I just started getting into like journaling and being spiritual. But usually, I sleep. A I'll smoke a little bit of weed occasionally if I'm really stressed out, and like I only get really stressed out with big deals.
Word.
I just closed this huge assisted living deal in March of last year.
That's tight.
It was like record breaking, and it was just, we had it on market for like 577 days, and finally structured it with seller financing and a lot of other, cool things. So.
All right. So just started getting into journaling. What's that been like for you?
I think I've been able to hold myself. I think accountability has been a big thing for me in the past couple of years. I always used to not feel sorry for myself, but feel sorry for myself. Like, oh, poor me, why me? Now if something bad happens, take a day to feel sorry for myself, and then I wake up the next day and just be like, all right, dude, no one cares about your fucking problems. Do you want to be rich or do you not want to be rich? If you don't want to be rich, feel sorry for yourself and be poor. Go play Call of Duty. If you want to be rich, make some fucking cold calls. Cool.
Touche. How do you define success?
I used to think it was just being rich,
Same.
and then I realized that's, this has been a really hard year for me. I've had a career year. I had a lot of ups and downs with, my significant other in a relationship that I was in, but my dog's dying this year, and I realized, you can make all the money in the world, but if your personal life's not doing the best, if other things are going on, so I would say success now is your happiness, and ideally you don't work for money, you work for time, right? Money's just a currency that you can exchange for time, essentially. So that's been my shift, essentially. So
Kind of changing it from more like a life perspective, from just
yeah, like money comes and go, like so does happiness, but like if you follow your happiness and you have a certain elite skill, you can kind of do both, right? So
heck yeah. What are like some things that you've done to kind of work like on that side of your idea of success, not the money part, but like, I know you talked about journaling, but was there anything else that you did to?
I've wanted to travel more. So I mean, realistically, I hit my goals in August, and instead of pushing past those goals and setting new goals for the year, the first time in 3 years since I've been out in Arizona, that not only have I been really financially well off, I've been able to wake up without an alarm clock and be like, what do you want to do? So from like September to, let's call it August. From August to October, I just essentially traveled. Went to Malibu a couple times, saw my buddies, saw my cousin out in Florida. So I just think traveling makes me happy. It's fun,
Yeah.
Ideally I'd like to go overseas and experience different cultures and grow, but that's kind of happiness to me.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we did a lot of traveling last year, and it was great because kind of touching on that, when you're in a place of like absolute scarcity where you're really thinking like about your bills, it doesn't really allow you to
No.
kind of be who you really want. You're just like in that like, holy shit, I gotta make money, holy shit, I gotta make money, and you're in this like panic mode of, okay, I need to get there. And like I had kind of like a similar thing, like after my mom died, I was so broke and like so broken as a person that it was just like I put my head down and I worked my ass off until I like looked up and I was like, whoa, dude, like I've really come a long way here. And now it's time for me to start really nurturing some other sides of life.
Right.
I was always into like reading and like journaling, working out a ton, working. I still am a workaholic. But now I'm more so focusing on like what's making me happy, what's not making me happy, what blind spots do I have that shit, like this part of me like really hurts, and I like, how do I deal with that? And so it's I think working as hard as you possibly can to get away from that space is really good. But at the same token, you can't neglect every single part of your life, kind of like what you were just touching on, where like you weren't really traveling, you weren't really living your best life, you were just hustling as hard as you could to and I think there's a season for that. And I don't think that like I don't think ever like slowing completely down is the right move, but I think like once you get out of a season of like complete brokenness, like you gotta start experiencing more out of life.
Yeah. And I think as far as like transitioning, or I mean we can talk about that, or we can just hit on that now, like kind of transitioning from residential to commercial. Be expect to be broke as fuck for a year and a half.
No shit.
I made in 2020. I don't give a like. I do really well now, so I don't care. But I think you should be secure with yourself and your insecurities. And I will tell the camera, I made $20,000 in 2020 during COVID, and it was one of the best years of my life. I hung out every day with my best friend at our apartment complex. You know, lived off the unemployment money like everyone. You know, like Trump was printing that out. Why not? But I wasn't satisfied with my career. I had a 100-unit deal fall out that was life-changing, or so I thought at the time. An 8-unit deal fall out with an Instagram influencer who didn't want to take accountability for her earnest money. That's fine. But at the same time, I think, you know, to get back to the question, transitioning from residential to commercial, I think I kind of did it the right way, and I didn't know what I was doing at the time. You know, I went to go work for Taylor Street Advisors in Phoenix and worked there for about 7-8 months, you know, listening to my cousin talk on the phone, and I'll put him up against anyone on social media, or anyone period, when it comes to phone skills. Like,
Really?
yeah, dude, he's like Jordan Belfort. Like that man is so smooth, and he specializes in triple net lease, and so I learned a lot from him, and and doing that type of commercial real estate. But they had another side, and that was the multifamily side, and I would always find myself over there, and I was like price per door, and I was really interested in multifamily. So I kind of bet on myself and kind of used YouTube University to become well spoken and well versed and get some comfortability, I guess you could say, with all the jargon and verbiage. And then I sold my first fourplex for free.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't I had, at the end of the day, like when you're working with institutional buyers or sellers or people who have, you know, multifamily in their portfolio, it's not like a mom and dad who are like, you know, who are 70K up in equity and want to sell their house. There's a lot more independent variables.
Right.
So I always feel like if you're transparent with people, they'll have a lot more respect for you. I said, sir, I've never sold multifamily. This is what I want to do for my career path. I will sell your property for free as long as you pay the buying agent. He said, okay. So I sold my first fourplex, I don't know, 3 years ago. And once I got that under my belt, I just went next door. I was like, hey, I sold this for this for this. And, you know, kind of the rest is history. So it's providing value and building your name up and stacking those, not notches on a belt, but stacking those deals together. And where when you meet institutional, you know, investors, PE guys, family office guys from LA, and you have a portfolio, like these are the deals I've done. Like anytime I'm emailing someone, just so I don't have to explain myself or brag, or, you know, I just say, these are some of the past deals I've done. Here's my portfolio, like the past 2.5 years. Here are some of the OMs I've created, and it kind of goes from there. But yeah, expect to be poor the first year and a half in commercial, especially if you don't have PropStream, Nexus Lexus, batch leads, a lot of those things, you know?
There's power in that, and so I kind of want to dive into that, you know, because my first year in real estate, I made like 20 grand too, but I kept going. What, like, you knew you wanted to be in it, but you also, like, you made next to nothing. I mean, that's barely enough to pay the freaking bills, let's be honest.
Yeah.
How did you keep yourself going? Like, what was it that drove you? Like, what mental challenges did you go through there? Because obviously that, like, there had to have been a lot.
Yeah, well, I graduated with a general studies degree, concentration in econ. And like sometimes in life, I read this book by David Goggins. That's one of the reasons why I moved out here, to be uncomfortable. And I was either going to go up in flames or I was going to be a success. And at the end of the day, I wanted to recreate myself. I wanted to be isolated. I didn't want the same friend group. I didn't want people reaching out to me. I just wanted to move out here and do my own thing. So realistically, why I kept going is, you know, I got paid 50, 60 grand my whole life at a sales job. You know, my first year I failed, I guess. I made 20 grand, but I was like, I know I can learn from my mistakes, and I know I can make 6 figures a year and be my own boss. And I will never work harder for somebody else than I will myself. And a nut to, to touch base on another point, it's like, what job am I really going to do with the skills I have that are going to make six figures? Realistically. Aside from...
I mean, sales.
Yeah, sales. And this is sales. And at the end of the day, if you have a first bad year, you can't just like leave what you're doing, right? Unless you don't really want to have any accountability and be like, dude, you just weren't good on the phones, you were shit. Listen to some scripts, go on YouTube, listen to some of the guys who make money, and kind of copy and paste that. But at the same time, don't just implement that. And I get a lot of people calling me on scripts. I'm not going to say any companies, but like I've literally stopped them in their tracks and be like, oh, is this the so-and-so script? Like I'm a huge believer in scripts, but at the same time, I'm not. I don't use scripts anymore. I kind of have the same 4 or 5 sentences that I use, and I kind of probe more so than I have a script. And like, if I find out you're from Seattle, oh, hey, I see your zip code's so-and-so. I'll be like, are you a Seahawks fan? I'll ask random questions like that. They'll be like, yeah. I'm like, dude, I love Geno Smith. I think he's great. And like, that's how I build rapport. I feel like it's a lot harder on scripts. And don't get me wrong, like there's a lot of guys making money using scripts.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. I feel like for where I'm at in my career, I don't use scripts.
Yeah, I think there's, I think having a process and like how you go about it is great. Like, because you have to have like a process and a structure of like your conversation of how it's going to flow.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Like I used to have fully scripted conversations when I was first like cutting my teeth, which was necessary because you have to learn how to flow in a conversation first.
I agree.
But once you get to like a point of where like you've got some confidence, you close some deals, like you have to be able to kind of go, you have to adapt your own style of how you're going to sell, which is, it's good that you are doing that because ultimately you're right. Like when I hear, like you get probably these calls all the time, the fucking lead companies calling you, hey, I saw you on realtor.com. You want some clients? I'm like, no, I don't want some fucking clients. Like, I'm getting I'm doing my own leader generation. I'm not going to pay you to like do this for me, especially with you cold calling me out of the blue and not knowing anything about me. Like you don't understand that I work more on the investment side than I do on the retail side. There's nothing wrong with the retail side. It's just not my jam anymore.
And paying for leads is never it. I just spent like $5,000 on realtor.com. Got like 3 good deals in the first month, and they were sending me, no offense, I'm not better than any deal, but when you're sending me $39,000 mobile home deals, you guys can keep the $900 commission checks. Dude. It's not worth it to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, paying for leads, I don't know.
Some of them are great, but some of the like the ones that we're talking about, like, nah. Okay. And we kind of touched on this earlier, like spirituality. How has that started playing into either like your success or like your overall happiness in life?
I don't take shit personal when people disrespect me anymore. And I think I used to be such a petty person, and now I don't take it personal. I'm at an amazing brokerage over at W Partners, and I get treated like a king over there, and they respect the work, and they went out on a ledge to help me open up a commercial division over there, and they believed in me. And at my old brokerage, I loved my old brokerage. Everyone wasn't held to the same accountability, and no one really believed in me over there, and so yeah. Word.
If you couldn't work in real estate, what else would you do for work?
Oh man. I don't know. Probably infinity banking. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'd probably be an attorney.
Really?
Yeah, just because my dad's an attorney, his dad was an attorney, my sister's an attorney for Goldman Sachs, and like 10 times smarter than her. So I definitely think I'd be a great attorney.
Word. What's your favorite book?
David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me.
That is a good book.
Yeah.
Who do you look up to, or like who has been like a direct or indirect mentor in your life?
Who do I look up to? Growing up, this sounds crazy. I used to really look up to Paul Walker. I used to dress like him. I had the tuner cars. Like I used to race on the weekends.
R.I.P.
Yeah, that's my guy. Don't let people who can't drive cars drive you around. Loved Paul Walker, and then I really liked Derrick Rose.
Is that a football guy?
No, he's a basketball guy. He's like Chicago's son. He's a golden child.
Okay.
Looked up to him. I would say, as of lately, one of my favorite guys. I'm always trying to catch what they're saying on their Instagram and their podcast. I really like Jordan Belfort. He's been through it all. He's a changed guy. He's a primary source to the financial world. And that's another reason why I don't like Grant Cardone.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen their podcast, but it's like about 3 years ago, Grant Cardone can't even break down to you what a cap rate is. And my biggest thing is Jordan Belfort was, he's a salesman, right? Ultimate bullshitter. Yeah. If you go into a room with another bullshitter, you'll be able to tell that guy's full of shit. And when they sat down and had that podcast, from my mind, Jordan Belfort made it pretty clear that Grant Cardone's full of shit. We'll see. Under Grant Cardone in prison, 5 years. I'm saying under. It's a different story for a different day.
Interesting. I like some of the things Grant does. I don't like some of the things, but I haven't fully formed my opinion on it because I haven't really looked too deep into him. I haven't seen that episode actually, but I like how Jordan Belfort did, come out and now he's trying to make something better out of himself. Yeah. At least that's my perception. Again, I don't follow him too closely, but
yeah, just to clarify, I don't have an issue with Grant Cardone. I just thought it was real bush league, honestly, when you open up a syndicate or section 503B or C or whatever the case may be, and you're taking money from non-accredited investors and not paying their dividends or payments per month during COVID. I don't know if you guys knew about that, but yeah, he wasn't paying for it. He stopped making payments for a couple months. I didn't really like that, but other than that, he's a very knowledgeable man.
I think undeniably though, he is one hell of a marketer.
Oh yeah, he's not the smartest guy, let's be honest. Like, I saw him on Jordan Belfort's podcast. He's really great. He's a charismatic individual who will make you get behind him and believe in him, even if he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Sure.
Which is also scary at the same time.
Yeah, I've seen him, some stuff of him on Baller Busters, but again, I don't follow him super closely. I know a lot of people really preach on his sales system and reading his books and all that. I've read a couple of them, but I have other people. I try not to follow too many people because then I'll chase 45 rabbits, and then it's especially in the self-education and personal development space, you can follow 45 different people and you'll get 45 different opinions, and then you're like, shit, which way do I go? And I feel that's where a lot of people fall into paralysis analysis, or they're just Andy Frisella. I follow him pretty closely. I think I'm a younger version of him, but we'll fucking see about that.
I don't even know who he is.
Really?
I don't think. I've maybe seen his Instagram. I don't know, but
he's got a good podcast. I like it. And he's the one that created 75 Hard, the thing.
Okay, cool, right,
yeah. But he talks about success zombies, people that'll go out and they'll study all these people and learn from them, but they never really do anything with the information that they do. So, that's why I try and stick to as few as possible.
Yeah, and honestly, just jump in. Whatever you're doing, no matter if you're well versed or you're not, you're gonna fuck up.
Yeah.
So, but like you mentioned, a lot of people just never jump in, right?
Yeah. You have to jump and build your wings on the way down. So, what would you say is your final thought you want to share with the listeners before we wrap up?
No one's perfect, and I think, I'm finally comfortable opening up to my story a little bit, because everyone on social media is just everyone's rich, everyone's got Lambos, everyone's at the clubs in Scottsdale, everyone's got the Suns tickets, everyone's this. I think people can always relate more to you through your fuck ups and failures rather than through your success, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't relate to Grant Cardone buying a $40 million place in Malibu at a 2 cap. I can't. But, I can relate to, somebody doing something wrong, feeling bad about it, making life improvements and changing. So,
sure.
And essentially, if there's anyone listening to my story, it's going to be probably kids in the inner city who think that's the only way to make money, is selling drugs or hustling, when in reality, go on YouTube, learn how to wholesale. I've done 3 wholesale deals, no big deal. Um,
That sounds fun.
yeah, but what I'm saying is, you can make so much more money. My dad always told me, especially at the end of, past couple years, you can always make more money with a pen than you ever can with a sword. Meaning, like, you'll always be able to make more money with contracts than, like, sticking someone up or, robbing someone or something like that. Pen over sword. And I always listen to that, and I think it's the truth. So if there's anything to take away from my message, just understand you can make changes if you want to, and everything translates. So if, there's certain business plan right here that works, it's going to work over in real estate. And there's 40 different business plans that people use in real estate now. So
Yeah.
you'll be all right. Don't reinvent the wheel. Yeah.
Heck yeah. If the listeners want to connect with you and learn more about you, where can they follow you, or where can they find you?
If you're in the sub 2 community, don't follow me. You guys are assholes. I get so many. Yeah, I'm going in right now. I get so many disrespectful emails off LoopNet because I'm not interested in presenting your $25K down 7-year balloon payments at 4% interest only on $3 million properties. I have a lot of respect for that community, but I've probably received 30 or 40 emails in the past month and a half since one of my tweets went viral in one of their Facebook groups. So you can find me at the Daniel Papin on Instagram, Daniel Papin on LinkedIn, DK Papin on Twitter. So
Sweet. Cool, man. Well, that was fun.
appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you on the next episode.